Yeah, it doesn't really have a title yet, so the title is Unstructured. I was in a car accident over the holidays. Before that, I was surrounded by police at a protest in New York City. Alone, these events would be something to brag about, but one after the other, I found myself recalling other moments I stared danger in the face. It's become a really bad habit. Sometimes it's simple carelessness, like this one time. Biking down empty streets, I blew through intersections, invigorated by midnight air. Headphones cranked, music overpowering me. I veered down a familiar hill and let go of the handlebars. I closed my eyes and felt the moment sweep me away. The wind rushed past me. I imagined I was flying. I was euphoric. I achieved nirvana. Then I opened my eyes. Flashing lights, a parade of metal, a train at the crossing. I slammed on the brakes and stopped short of the guardrail. My headphones fell out and hit the ground. The train thundered by and I felt the earth shake around me. I decided to pedal home. Here's another train-related incident. I was walking to a new job as I had destroyed my bike in an unrelated crash a month prior. I ran into a train, stopped at a crossing. I cursed to myself for not leaving earlier, as a detour to the overpass would definitely make me late for work. I thought about my manager. Images of the old boss's strained red face ran through my mind. Memories of moments when he lost his temper and screamed at his employees for their apparent transgressions. He had fired people for less, or so I'd heard. What did I have to lose by being daring? It would be fine, totally. I hoisted myself up by the ladder on the train car. I didn't risk jumping the metal coupling in fear of getting my foot caught. I shouldn't be too stupid, I remember thinking. Sidling along the narrow foothold, I was awash with dumb confidence. I crossed over the halfway point, and suddenly, a sickening feeling knotted up my stomach. What the fuck am I doing? Struck by a bolt of clarity, I was terrified. I jumped off the train, clearing the rails and rolling as I hit the ground. I heard the groan of metal on metal, and when I turned, I saw the train moving. I dusted myself off and laughed off my own stupidity. When I got to work, I explained what happened to my coworkers. One older woman was aghast. Didn't I know? A man had died on those same tracks earlier in the year. I laughed that off too. The list goes on. Countless bails onto the pavement. One time I went headfirst into a ditch and got sent sailing through the air. I rolled though, so I was fine. But my bike was bent at a 90-degree angle. One time I got hit by a car on my bike. I rolled though, it was fine. Needless to say, I don't do a lot of biking anymore. Not that it matters. Despite all the close calls, I still haven't learned my lesson. Texting while driving, recklessly passing people on dark roads, speeding everywhere I go. The car crash was a wake-up call because it wasn't my fault. There was nothing I could have done in that moment that would have made it better. As I swerved to avoid the truck that cut me off, I hit a sign that totaled my car. But if I had reacted an instant slower, I would have hit the hydro pole right next to it, and I wouldn't be sharing this with you. And despite all my brushes with it, death is still not what I'm afraid of. One late night in college, I was alone in my dorm. It was way past the hours of productivity, and the glare of the computer monitor was burning holes into my eye sockets. I was okay with it. I had to be okay with a lot of things at the time. Long-distance girlfriend, my best friend disappeared, lousy living conditions, tight money constraints. I got up to use the bathroom. I caught myself in the mirror and stared at my reflection. My disheveled and unkempt face looked back at me. I whispered to myself, "What are you doing?" At that moment, things got weird. I talked to myself a lot, but this was different. I don't remember this too well. There was, just as an aside, there was this bit on NPR the other day about every time you bring up a memory, every time you recall it, it becomes labile, changeable. It's what allows you to reflect on the memory and to bring it into a present context. Going from there, I felt something in my head become disconnected. Suddenly I felt very distant from myself. My brain noticed that my mouth was still moving. It hadn't stopped. I listened to my voice while floating 6 inches behind myself. The other me, at least that's how I identify him, was criticizing me like only I know how. My first crush? Abject failure. My first year of college? A disgrace to the family. Once he started talking about how out of shape I was, I had a moment of clarity and broke away from my own gaze. I stumbled out into the common room, completely sober, yet in a daze. I poured a glass of water, and then turning around, I saw him reflected in the picture windows of the dorm. That's where things get really hazy. He picked up right where he left off, railing against every poor decision I had ever made. I knew these things. These sorts of thoughts were often present in the chaos of my mind, but now they were tangible. I was listening to my other self attack me from the inside out, and I was powerless to stop him. I didn't want to stop him. I felt that he was speaking truth, even if it was a vitriolic truth. I don't remember most of what he said. I probably retained it somewhere deep in the abyss of self-loathing, but I choose not to dwell on those things anymore. When I finally snapped out of it, I didn't know how much time had passed. I felt exhausted like a marathon runner. It could have been 20 minutes, it could have been an hour. I'm not sure. I remember one thing. I was scared. I wasn't sure exactly what happened. I guess what I'm saying is, death doesn't scare me nearly as much as I scare myself. And to tie this all together, I have an excerpt from my favorite poet, the great rapper Aesop Rock. So it's about being on the precipice of death. It's about the rivalry between motorcyclists and drivers on the road, but mostly it's about motorcycles. So. It was less of an act of hubris, more a lonely hearts club at the helm of a magic bullet. Away on a relentless bid for rarefied inertia, rattletrap forts married to the patchy terra firma, Ursa Minor getting warmer. I crowbar into the pecking order, the dreck between the whores and Betty Forders, hug a double yellow spine, knobby rubber like a rat on a rope. Those little fuckers run on passion alone. This is the product of a DIY inadequate home, grabbing a cabin in the fuck out of Dodge, acting a savage in the shadows of Rome, traffic mass against insufferable odds, fashioning gallows out of plastic and bone. I got the motordrome walls of death splintering under me, all city galvanized bikes white knuckling, bright light tunnel kings tucking the devil. P.S. I wrote this on a self-destructing memo. Thank you. Drive safe.
Nature, I hate you and your petty flummoxing of the butterfly's wing dust. Your immersive credo is irritating. Your pneumatic pontificating does nothing to assuage the oxidizing Chevy of the red-shifted sub-dwarf sternum thumper that is upper management